This movie has a game of keep away with some dude's dick. I just thought you should know what you're getting into with this one.
I played video games in a drunken haze. I was 17 years young.
An absurdist style, dark humor, gritty, dirty, disgusting cesspool of cinema. Thanks a lot, you fucking asshole. Street trash is street gold. Within seconds of firing this thing up, I knew I was in for pure magic. It just has that aura about it, like when you fire up a good Kaufman flick. Hell, it even has that one fat dude from The Toxic Avenger.
It's about this monster that's been terrorizing my town.
And Nukem High. According to Roy Frumks, the screenwriter, this is the same dude who wrote the 4 Substitute movies, by the way. Street trash was written to democratically offend everyone on the planet. Alright, let's get the old offensive checklist here and see how this holds up. Toilet humor. Nudity?
Shit! Fire! Fire! Building's on fire!
Racism?
Nah, you're much better off staring up that Gookor's skirt all day.
Handicap jokes?
Get up! Tony, get up! Starting you the good stuff! Get up!
Bestiality?
Don't do that!
Domestic violence?
I'll flat your ugly face.
Rape? Genital mutilation?
Huh?
Necrophilia? Alright, so how did that play out? As a result, the youth market embraced it as a renegade work, and it played midnight shows all over the country. Hell, I can see why. This film looks amazing. And I mean that in every way, from the actual filming choices,
I'll kill you!
from the editing choices, from the soundtrack. It's just wonderful all around to me. All along the journey, I had no idea where I was going to end up, but I know where we have to start. On some of the dirtiest streets in America as we take out the street trash. When a batch of tainted liquor starts to make its way around the homeless population, it doesn't just kill them, it utterly putrefies them into a pile of 1980s special effects goodness. Now, along the way, there's a no-shit-taking detective trying to track down the cause of all the deaths.
We got a killing here. Somebody got iced, and it was probably your shithead boss who did it.
And standing in his way is Bronson.
I used to make women like you parade around the village bare pussy! Bitch!
He's like a psycho and former war vet who thinks he's top shit and king of the junkyard, kind of bosses around everyone that lives in there with him. Now, also in the way of the detective and the bums is Frank, owner of the junkyard, who not only has beef with the homeless,
They're all bums.
I mean, they do permeate every nook and cranny of his business. He also often argues with his own employee, Wendy, who has a soft spot for some of the poor kids.
They'll be bums if someone don't care for them.
Maybe a wet spot. All of the characters are enjoyable to watch in this movie, even in some of their more deplorable acts, because this movie just has a certain tone to it that it doesn't stray too far from. Can't stop fucking with this pen. Part of its charm is seeing some of the characters get what they deserve, and some of it is hoping a little good might come through one of them, and a lot of it is simply enjoying this long-lost genre of film, an absurdist style, dark humor, gritty, dirty, disgusting cesspool of cinema. They really don't make them like this anymore. Now, Street Trash has a plot, a decent one at that, but when I started writing this one, I realized that if I tried to review this movie scene by scene like I do with a lot of them, most of the magic would be lost. This movie's impact comes from seeing it through your own eyes. And few movies make me feel this way, so that means something. This is not a bad thing at all, let's be clear. I think this movie is a special kind of movie, a love child and passion project of its time that deserves a real viewing and not a simple rundown of its scenes because there's so much to enjoy from watching this for yourself. The first death in the movie is absolutely gorgeous, and I know it's like beating a dead horse, but God, we need this again. We need more practical effects, more on-scene, less green screen. Now, this supermarket scene is hilarious. It toes the line of racist dialogue, which is probably a little more difficult in those days if you think about it.
Now this old honky, skilled, snitchy ass motherfucker tells you something, and you say, "Come with me." Now, why don't you just pull down your pants so we can all see the lily white paint on your Haitian black ass?
Street trash is so bad in a good way that even the good guys are bad. There's a scene with the cop who, after he beats the hell out of this dude, he throws his head in a urinal and you don't go into this movie for the beginning, middle, and the end. You go in it for the story period, the journey itself. But the thing is, this movie isn't even lacking a story. Like, it has a legit beginning, middle, and end. I wouldn't have expected that. For all its gore and sexual violence and general debauchery, it has a beginning, middle, and an end that flows rather well. As more and more people die from ingesting the Viper, the cop closes in on the cause as Fred, the main bum, continues to somehow inevitably avoid death, and eventually, he learns the effects of the brew himself when he witnesses another bum drink some of it. That's what you go to this movie for. You see why I can't really do it justice if I try to walk you through everything. I'm teasing you with some of this. You gotta watch it if you haven't seen it. And if you have seen it, awesome.
Sarah!
This is why I didn't feel like the plot was too large of a concern for me to try to use to sell this movie to you. You know already, and probably knew before you clicked on it, whether or not this movie was for you. Now, Bronson plays a big role in the majority of the film's dramatic and action-filled moments, as expected, and is just as enjoyable to watch as anyone else in this flick, which is impressive to say the least. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is apparently the guy who played him got hired 12 hours before they started shooting. Somehow, someway, the initial actor who was going to play Bronson got fired. And I can't really figure out how or why, but that happened. So the dude who played Bronson said that he didn't really get around to reading the script until 3 months or so after shooting had wrapped. So he was just kind of giving his lines and said he had no real motivation and didn't know who Bronson really was in this film. I find that interesting. Now, his best moment comes at the end of the movie when he finally gets killed, with amazing special effects, as always, like really amazing in this case. And his decapitated head is lying on the ground. When Wendy leaps over it to safety, his eyes follow her upskirt and he smiles his last. That's fucking ridiculously funny to me. I just love this kind of sick humor. Hell, even the end screen is amazing, and it won't make too much sense to you since I didn't really go over this part with you, but just suffice it to say, this little kid right here, he's been bullied by his boss, which is on the right, throughout most of this movie. Now imagine this kid's delight when he gets to witness his boss's comeuppance when he takes a sip of the bottle that he pulled from his pocket. I love this kid's lines. Now we talk shit right here.
Come on! Hey, untie me, will you, fellas? Because I think I'm gonna take his cane. Get that ring before it gets all mussed up, will you?
Look, Street Trash is a visual delight, and that's why I didn't spend as much screen time on this one like I do with a lot of reviews. I didn't want to spoil too much of it. It really would be an injustice to rob anyone who hasn't seen it of some of the greatest scenes of this movie, and that's why I left out a lot of them. It's got a basket case vibe to it, it's got a Dead Alive vibe to it, Evil Dead 2, probably hundreds of other movies that I never saw. That was the notepad falling out of my lap. But anyway, I'm surprised that it doesn't have Lloyd Kaufman's name on it, because that's exactly what it feels like to me, a Lloyd Kaufman flick. It's delightfully disgusting in every possible way, and I love, love, love it.
Get a fucking job!
Check this one out, by the way. Links in the description.